tornado warning that has been issued. This is Doppler radar indicated. It includes portions of Grant Parish down to the south of our viewing area. It's actually in our viewing area, but in the southern portion of our viewing area, and it's moving off to the east. We said just a moment ago that these cells do have the potential to fire up and increase in intensity as we move into the morning hours. But off to the west, as we look, we have one tornado warning out to our west that could be moving more easterly. Now we want to focus mainly on the cell to the south because that is in our viewing area. Now we do have Chase Ward in here as well. Meteorologist Chase Ward is actually going to zoom in on this cell down in Grant Parish. As you take a look at it here right now, as of last look, kind of broad rotation, but the rotation was tightening up just a bit, and as it progresses off to the east, it actually notifies or notices a warning here because this cell is actually tightening. We saw that rotation tightening down to the south of our viewing area. As of now, not a confirmed tornado on the ground. Once again, radar indicated, but as it moves off to the east, we'll continue to monitor that and see if it increases in intensity or rotation. And as it does so, this warning will be extended should the rotation allow and continue and warrant the warning being issued and continued off to the east. Now, Chase is here, like I mentioned. Chase is going to monitor the National Weather Service chat. And Chase, do you have anything to add?
So they just issued this. This is for Grant Parish, radar indicated possible rotation. This is near the Dry Prong and moving towards the Pollock area. Again, this is within Grant Parish, just to the east of Colfax. And like I said, it's just now moving into our area. Right now, the Weather Service is closely monitoring this cell. And right now, we're looking at a little bit of the rotation right now. And I'm going to try to pull up the rotation here just a second. If, hang on.
Yeah, Chase, while Chase tries to pull that up, we'll continue to look at this cell once again down to the south in the far southern areas of our viewing area. This is for Grant Parish, just to the south of Dry Prong, but Dry Prong actually included in the northern part of this polygon. Counties were actually phased out about a decade ago. We don't issue warnings based on solely counties anymore. They're more located towards what we call polygons, which are the squares like you see here, but they can also be multiple shapes and includes more of a focused area for severe weather development, and in this case, tornado warning, actually including parts of Grant Parish, Pollock, and Dry Prong. So if you're in Dry Prong or Pollock, definitely get in your safe place. We're going to zoom in a little bit here and get closer to street level, but as we do that, notice that things down in Dry Prong and Pollock both going to be in the path of this tornado, potential tornado, as well as the rotation that's moving off to the east. As you take a look at lots of purples here, if I believe so, Chase, this could indicate some decently sized hail in this particular cell.
Trying to get the velocity pulled up here. Our computer system seems to be acting kind of funny with our mouse. You might have better look with your hand tracker now, because right now our mouse seems to be acting funny. But yeah, right now there's a potential for some hail right there where you see the area purple. This is just to the south of Dry Prong right now, near 10 Top Road, and moving near I think it says Dyson Creek Road. So if you live within any of these areas, Dry Prong, Oak Grove, Creola, Bentley, Pollock, and Antony, and even farmland, I would definitely say you need to be in your tornado safe place right now. This is moving towards the northeast, coming out of moving through Grant Parish right now, and that'll be moving towards the northeast. So we'll be watching and just keeping you informed as the system makes its way. Again, the Weather Service issued the tornado warning because of potential rotation with this particular system.
Right, and as this particular cell moves off to the east, we actually are seeing, after some morning storms, we've seen a breakage and some rainfall down to the south. And as that's occurred, it's not necessarily moving into recently freshly cooled, rain-cooled air down in the southern portions of our viewing area and Grant Parish. So this storm does have the potential to keep up the rotation as it moves off to the east. So we're definitely going to continue to monitor that. And like I mentioned, we are in tune with the National Weather Service chat, so should there be a breaking update on this particular cell or something we don't notice here with our meteorological expertise, most likely the National Weather Service meteorologist will also pick up on it. But with that being said, as we take a look at your shear, there's some decent shear potential here. Wind shear, the turning of the winds with height continues, so there is definitely some rotation with this particular cell. And as it moves off to the east, we're definitely going to continue to monitor it and stay with this tornado warning on into the morning hours here. But take a look at velocity here, Chase. It seems rather broad at the moment, but it is tightening just a little bit from the last time I actually looked at it. But still not anything concerning to me as far as noting that there's a potential tornado on the ground. But there's definitely some rotation with this potential cell here.
Yeah, right now it's not really strong. Again, we were under a marginal risk, so any particular tornado that we were expecting today was not going to be as strong as it could have been. So there was some good news with that. But right now, looking at the radar, we do have that potential for a weak rotation around the Oak Grove area right now, zooming in just a little bit there. And again, this is right near between Oak Grove and Bentley, just to the south of Dry Prong, and that's where we're watching this particular rotation. Again, it's not very strong. It's a weak rotation. This was really radar indicated by the National Weather Service, so there hasn't been a spotter or anything like that on the ground that has confirmed that there was anything on the ground, but there was just enough rotation that, okay, so I'm just looking at the Weather Service chat. There was some small debris signatures on radar just south and southeast of Stanley, just before the 8 a.m., so just shortly before the top of the hour. So right now, again, this is from the Shreveport office, talking about the tornado warning moving through Grant Parish right now, south of Dry Prong, around Oak Grove, Bentley. If you live within any of these areas, again, this kind of triangle shape here from Oak Grove, Bentley, and Dry Prong, you need to be in your tornado safe place right now, and definitely get to a basement, underground shelter if you can. An interior closet will be, or interior bathroom, but the best place you can be. A mobile home is not a good place to be. That is definitely not a safe place to be at all. Again, Dry Prong, Oak Grove, and Bentley. This is where this indication of some rotation currently is right now. Again, I'm going to this. Well, we might be able to draw out signature here. Oh, we're not going to be able to. Okay. Well, again, it's really between that particular triangle from Dry Prong, Oak Grove, and Bentley where we are tracking this. Again, some of the roadways that are currently along this path right now: Grays Creek Road, Rock Hill, and Tilltop Road. Again, you guys are in the path of this rotation, and you need to be in your tornado safe place. Again, the rotation is very weak. We're not indicating a lot. There's just a hint of green and that hint of gray there amongst all the red, and that indicates a little bit of inbound winds and a mix of those outbound winds, and thus that's what's indicating the possibility of some weak rotation. And if anything is on the ground, it's not very strong, but it is strong enough that it could cause potential damage, especially to a mobile home or anything like that. So like I said, if you're in the Oak Grove, Bentley, or near Dry Prong, you need to be in your tornado safe place right now. I'm going to zoom back a little bit and give everyone, if you're just now joining with us, what we're currently looking at with this particular system as it's making its way into our viewing area.
Right, Chase, and like you mentioned, the rotation is broad at the moment, which basically means when we look at that particular product Chase was showing you, you have the reds moving away from the radar, greens towards the radar, and when you see those correspond with red, green, which we're not necessarily seeing on a widespread scale right now, that would indicate more so that you have stronger rotation coming together, which is just in basic terms, you have the winds going away and the winds towards. That's just showing rotation down in that particular cell. But like I mentioned, not necessarily seeing widespread rotation at the moment down in this particular area. But as we move down to the south of our viewing area and take a look at this particular cell, you'll notice that the National Weather Service has drawn a pretty decent sized polygon here, and like we mentioned, includes Dry Prong, Pollock. Definitely get into your safe place. And as we zoom it down closer to street level here, I'm going to read off some of those streets again, like Chase just named. And also, if we can zoom it a little bit here, there we go, getting a little closer. Chase is going to handle that from the computer because it gets a little touchy with the buttons here, but there we go. You've got Mercer Road, I believe here. That's Mary Barron Road, Walker Road. It's all right in the front part of this polygon and also on the eastern side of it, which means you're going to catch this rotation as it not only moves through the polygon in the warned areas, but as it moves off to the east. So I would certainly recommend being in your safe place, not only in the western sides of the warned area, but also throughout the whole polygon. There's a saying in the weather community, Chase could have probably quoted me word for word without me saying it, you respect the polygon, which means if you're in the box or the polygon, you take your safe place, because the polygon accounts for storm motion. Storms like to what we call wobble, which means they can go either a little bit northerly, southerly, and a little bit easterly at times, as well as they make their way off to the east, which includes those areas in the polygon, meaning they could touch either or the top of the polygon or the bottom of the polygon, give or take a little bit of a wobble with the storm, just meaning that the polygon is issued and accounts for a little bit of error on the human side of things, and also accounts for the storm motion changing a little bit. But once again, we do have some purples here, which could indicate some decently sized hail as well. And I believe, Chase, you have an update for us.
A new update. So they have allowed the tornado warning for Grant Parish to expire as the rotation signature has begun to weaken, and they have allowed that to expire. With that particular warning expiring, that is the only tornado warning that we had in our viewing area. So as of right now, we are apparently all clear for the moment. However, this particular storm, if you're looking at it closely, it kind of looks like it's strengthened a little bit, but the rotation just doesn't seem to be there. I would say the main thing with this particular storm will be the heavy rain and the possibility of some hail, because we are indicating a lot of purple with this particular cell. This is moving just to the south of Winfield along Highway 167, starting to cross over to 165, moving. This is north of Alexandria. This is in Grant Parish, moving towards the northeast, and it's coming really in the direction of the Columbia area. I'm going to do just a quick storm track motion on this particular system, because even though it may not have a tornado warning now present with it, it could still pack the possibility of some gusty winds with this particular system. Again, moving towards the northeast. It'll be in Jenna about around 826, Georgetown 831, Alla 849, Grayson 908, and Columbia be around your area at about 914. So again, this tornado signature and the rotation has weakened, but again, it could still pack a punch of probably 50, 60 mile per hour winds,
right,
and the possibility of some hail. Now, there's not an active warning, right, for the storm right now, but it could potentially develop into something else.
And like Chase mentioned, the storm could pack winds upwards of 60 miles per hour, and a lot of times we believe that strong winds and damaging winds get kind of a downgrade, and a downgrade in the minds of weather viewers, because it's not necessarily as big and as menacing as the word tornado and as the image tornado is cultivated across the nation. But saying all that to say that damaging winds blowing 70 miles per hour, whether that's in a rotation sense or straight forward, that'll still do some damage. 70 miles per hour is 70 miles per hour, and those winds blowing in a straight line still going to do some damage, can knock over some trees. And Chase and I have mentioned multiple times throughout the morning how much rainfall accumulation has fallen in areas across the Arklamas, and as that's the case, the ground is pretty saturated, and it doesn't take much in terms of regular winds sometimes to knock over trees in super saturated ground. So with strong and damaging winds, could easily knock over trees, power lines, or other things that you may have into the ground, such as poles or lawn equipment, patio furniture, things like that. But also note that we do have that tornado warning out to the south and west, which will be moving to the north and east. And should that warning be continued, that warning will eventually take it on a track that would move into parts of the Arklamas and our viewing area as well. But that cell is a little bit further to the southeast, and we just saw, I believe, Chase, that the warning that was out closer to the Shreveport area has also been allowed to expire.
Yes, however, they have just issued a new tornado warning. This is, I believe, for Webster Parish, and it's starting to, hang on, if I can zoom into it, there we go. This is a new tornado warning that's just been issued just in the Minden area. This is in Webster Parish, but it's starting to cross over a little bit into our viewing area. So again, a lot of active storms are starting to fire up with this line that's already making its way across northwest Louisiana. And so this is definitely going to be potentially an active morning. Again, the current time is 8:22 in the morning, and we're getting tornado warnings. We already had, that's the third one just within the past 30 minutes. And
right,
you don't normally get those this time of day.
Absolutely. And the same sort of case was present last night. And we mentioned all day yesterday that the severe weather potential as far as the tornadic threat remained fairly low. However, last night it was pretty quick that multiple tornado warnings were issued for parts of the Arklamas as well. And even though the tornadic threat is low, this is also serves as a reminder, especially last night it did as well, that even though it's low, not necessarily minimal, and even if it's there rather low, definitely you should pay attention to it and give it your time of mind and your time of day as well. But as we take a look at this storm, it's moving through areas of Minden as well. Firstly, you want to take a look at the Doppler radar right now. You're looking at reflectivity, and as we, I'm not sure what's going on with our analysis mode here, but we can draw out a storm track and kind of see where this is headed as it's moving in the northeasterly direction. If you look kind of out to the northeast of this particular cell, you're going to run into areas like Homer and Haynesville as it continues off to the north and east. Eventually, if it continues and the warning continues, that'll take it more so into the north central part of our viewing area, up towards the Arkansas-Louisiana state line. There it is. There's the analysis mode for you. But as we draw the particular storm track here, we'll be able to see areas that could be in the potential path of this cell here. We'll draw that out for you, out to areas like Homer as it's moving forward there. It shows Homer at about 8:40 a.m. It's not really picking up on many of the other communities here, but let's zoom in on some of the other smaller communities that are out closer to Homer as we take off that storm track. There you go. Chase has got it for you. But as we zoom in there, you'll notice that quite a bit of roadways and structures in the path of this potential cell. And down on the street level, notice that it's getting closer to areas like Chase. It's a little blurry on the monitor here, but this looks like Almond Circle, I believe, down to the south there, if I'm correct.
Hang on, we're having a little issue. Okay, all right.
Our system's still waking up this morning, but absolutely.
All right, yeah. We're zooming a little in. Again, this is a particular storm. It's in Webster Parish, but it's starting to make its way just into our area. Again, Holly Springs, Langston, Germantown, they lie in the particular path of this particular tornado warning. We'll try to see if we can get the potential velocity up, because again, our system's kind of been playing funny with us here, especially with our mouse. You might be able to pull it up on your end.
I'll pull up the velocity real quick, but yeah, the mouse is kind of acting up on Chase there. It's been disappearing all morning on us, but as we pull up the velocity, we'll go to Shreveport and pull up the velocity from there, take a look and zoom it out a little bit wider here and see if we can notice any bit of nothing that immediately stands out to me here aside from a little bit of this thing's kind of tricking out on us here. But as we take a look back in the far western sides of this polygon, you see a little bit of rotation there, Chase, and it's definitely not, I would say, overly pronounced by any means, but there's certainly rotation there, so I can see why the warning is in place and probably will continue for a little bit, as that rotation is certainly present. I wouldn't say it's extremely pronounced, but it's there.
Yeah, so this particular tornado warning that we're talking about right now, the National Weather Service issued that this severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located 9 miles north of Timber Trails and 14 miles north of Pineville. It's moving towards the northeast currently at 25 miles per hour. Again, the rotation, it's not very strong. Like, we're looking at the velocity right now, and just like with the Grant Parish tornado warning that we were just talking about, the rotation wasn't very strong. Again, we're not under a enhanced, moderate, or big risk for severe weather, but we were under a marginal, and because of that, we had some of these storms that could potentially produce a weak tornado. And a weak tornado, that's just enough that can cause potential minor damage, especially to mobile homes. It may not cause a lot of structural damage to houses, but it can definitely cause problems, especially if you're going to be out on the roadways. It can still blow a car off the road.
Right.
The winds will be strong enough for us to do that.
Absolutely, and it begs to differ. It also brings up the question why you would even need to stay on continuous coverage for a tornado warning, even when the rotation is fairly small and not even confirmed as far as a confirmed tornado goes. And the reason is, you got to think, some of these folks, this is heading towards folks' houses, folks' livelihoods, and an EF0 tornado comes down your street. That's a bad day. A tornado does some serious damage, whether it's small or large in scale. Same with damaging wind potential. Damaging winds, even though it may affect a small portion at times, still wreaks havoc on certain people's livelihoods, and you want to protect lives and property, which is our sole focus here, especially during tornado warnings. But this particular tornado warning is for Webster Parish. You can see it, including a decently sized area here, which also can kind of give you the hint that the rotation, usually when the polygon is rather large, that kind of tells you that the rotation isn't necessarily zoomed in, and can also go either way, whether fizzle out or zoom in, and I'll also increase a little bit. And I think Chase has another update for us.
Yes, I do. So we do have a new tornado warning. This is, oops, well, we're going to potentially get back. There we go. This is for, well, we might be able to. Again, our systems seem to be acting kind of funny.
That mouse is really...
Yeah, I think it may be the mouse that's causing a lot of this, but because it was acting up on you at the screen. All right, we can get zoomed in right here. This is a new tornado warning for still in Grant Parish, but it's also including parts of LaSalle Parish. This is heading towards near the Jenna area in LaSalle Parish. Again, this is still the same particular storm. We were just talking about it. They allowed that tornado warning to expire, and now they have just reissued it because of potential, once again, they say severe thunderstorm warning was capable of producing a tornado. Again, this was just looking about 9 miles north of Timber Trails, 14 miles north of Pineville, and it's moving towards the northeast at 25 miles per hour. That's the current tornado warning that's within our viewing area right now. This kind of includes the area of Dry Prong, but it does include Pollock, and we'll try to see if we can get the velocity pulled up here. Again, our storm tracker has, well, there we go. So I'm trying to, well.
Yeah, Chase.
You might be able to have better luck with the hand tracker over
I actually want to take a look here. Let's pull up the, let's see if we can take a look at some of the hail here on our particular radar and see if we can see any hail in the middle of this particular system here. And the hail swath, not really going to pick up on that. Of course, this is from the Shreveport radar. I don't really have the capability here at the moment, but as we take a look back at your reflectivity in the live radar, it just basically means that this is what you normally see on an everyday basis. This is your reflectivity indicating the strength of the rainfall and the potential of the storm here. As we take a look at the polygon, once again, this does include Pollock, and moving out of areas of Dry Prong. Dry Prong still not completely out of the woods yet, but at the far tail end of the western side of this polygon. And actually, as we take a look here, let's zoom in a little bit and take a look at some of the roads that are a little bit closer here in the midst of this situation and this particular polygon. And you got Camp Hardner, I believe. And the monitors here are a little bit blurry, but you get the picture in areas like Sandspur and Antonia. It's moving in the north-northeasterly direction, and while we don't have a confirmed tornado on the ground, there is rotation indicated not only by radar, but the National Weather Service meteorologists are seeing that as well. We're here to pass along that information to you. While we could certainly note that rotation is there as well, definitely helps to have the National Weather Service there and also have their set of eyes on this. So rest assured, you got multiple sets of eyes on this particular system and the areas within this polygon. But Chase, what do you see anything new?
There's not been anything new posted. Like I said, the radar indicated the severe thunderstorm capable of producing that tornado. Radar has also indicated hail around 3/4 of an inch, so kind of just shy of severe limits in that area of purple there, but there's possibility of some pea-sized hail possibly falling to that, so just shy of potential severe limits as far as the hail is concerned. However, the rotation, again, with this particular storm, it's not as strong, but like we were just talking about with that other one up to the northwest in Webster Parish, you know, it might potentially, if it's making it to the ground, it potentially EF0 if it is strong enough to make EF1. But like I said, we're not seeing a whole lot of strong indication that it could be that particular, that strong. Now, right now, this tornado warning is in effect, and it's not set to expire until at least 9 o'clock. So that is really for the next 30 minutes. They'll keep this active tornado warning active until they decide to expire it. And if you can, Trey, do a storm motion on that where the area of purple there and move it to, because it looks like it's on the northeastern end of the polygon. If they allow the polygon to be extended, it's going to go further into LaSalle Parish, and which could impact more communities in that area.
We're having a bit of an issue with our system here, but we're gonna zoom it out a little bit and also take a look at, like Chase mentioned, some of the areas to the northeast of this, because this is where it's moving. Areas like out to the east, you got Gina here, and as it moves out to the northeast, Chase, if you would zoom in a little bit on street level, and I'll call out some of these street names that are kind of in the, not necessarily in the polygon, but areas to the northeast and some communities that could be included should this polygon be extended and this warning be extended as well. White Sulphur Springs immediately pops up out to the east of this polygon as well, but the system as a whole will move to the north and east, and that's going to take it up towards eventually Gina. Gina probably going to miss it to the south, but most likely will be cutting it a little bit too close for comfort should this warning be extended. So I would certainly be on your guard in that area and certainly be ready to take your tornado precautions should this warning be extended a little bit further to the north and east. But still Pollock and areas to the south, excuse me, Chase, didn't mean to do that to you there, but
oh, you're fine.
As this particular cell moves off to the north and east, Pollock's still going to see rainfall, but you'll notice the majority of those reds and yellows now, majority of those off to the north and east relative to Pollock. Areas like Georgetown just to the north of this particular system most likely going to miss the worst of this, but also going to be actually collecting some of that heavy rainfall and the potential for some pea-sized hail, though you're not in the particular core of this warned storm and the warning concern, that also going to be the potential for some hail and decently strong storms in the Georgetown area. So in areas like that are just to the north of the polygon, though you may not be in the warned area, that also is going to come with the potential for some pea-sized hail as well as damaging winds and heavy rainfall. Heavy rainfall not to be forgotten as well, and these are areas that have already been super saturated over the past couple hours, overnight into this morning. And future tracker, we were picking up earlier that we could see some decent rainfall accumulations, possibly 5 to 6 inches over the next couple hours. Of course, that's a minuscule concern compared to the ongoing tornado warning in the southern portion of our viewing area. But say all that to say and relate to, we could see some trees easily toppled over because the ground's super saturated, and with that, damaging winds could easily topple over trees, power poles, or other structures that could be on that weakened surface. Chase?
So the Weather Service it gave a new update. This was about 2 minutes ago. They're going to continue the tornado warning for Grant and LaSalle Parish. It's not set to expire until at least 9 o'clock. It was at 8:32. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located about 10 miles north of Ball and 15 miles north of Pineville, and it's moving towards the northeast at about 25 miles per hour. Again, this is all radar indicated. You know, there's not a spotter or anyone that's like confirmed that there actually is one on the ground. However, there is some slight potential for weak rotation with this storm, and so they're kind of just better safe than sorry and issue the tornado warning in case potential if the tornado is actually making to the ground or not.
You're right, Chase, and I just actually wanted to check on this cell up here in the north and northwestern parts of Louisiana. And as we zoom in here once again to this particular cell, I'm not sure what's going on with our clicker today, but it's had a mind of its own. But this particular system does look decently broad, but as this cell moves more to the north and east, this cell going to move definitely into portions of our viewing area that's going to be opposite of the cell down to the south. It's going to move more towards areas in both Union County and Union Parish should it take the track in that general direction. Not necessarily a concern for that area at the moment, but it is a concern down the road should that particular cell stay in place and intact.
Yeah, right now our main concern is that particular system making its way into potentially Bean Parish and I think Claiborne Parish as well. So we'll definitely need to be watching that in particular, right. The one that we have pulled up on screen.
Yes.
It is making its way closer to the Arkansas line, and if it keeps going in the continuous track, it will make its way into our viewing area. And again, we're watching that particular storm. But we only have one tornado warning currently active within our viewing area, and that was the one down further to the south in Grant and LaSalle Parish.
Chase, but like you mentioned, closer to the Arkansas state line there, and if it moves in the direction we've seen it move in and continues to move in the northeasterly direction, take a look at what's up to the northeast. Now, not to say it couldn't wobble little bit to the south or even a little bit to the northeast, more so than it already has. But if it moves in the northeasterly direction, those storm trackers not necessarily picking up on anything as we draw out the track right now. We can just track it for you right here. When you move towards the Homer area and then more to the northeast would eventually, now this is a ways for it to stay on the ground and for the warning to be continued, but should it continue off to the northeast, areas like El Dorado would be right in the path of this particular cell. But Chase, if you don't mind, let's jump back down to the south and take a look at the cell down moving through Grant Parish at the moment and see what's happening down there.
Yeah, like I said, they've allowed the tornado warning to continue for Grant and LaSalle Parish. It looks like the particular storm system is slowly exiting Grant Parish and starting to make its way into LaSalle Parish right now. It's looking like it might be, if they continue this, it will be close to the community of Jena, and I don't believe it potentially will come directly, but it could come close. So close enough that if they continue the polygon, they might include that community, and so therefore you need to be weather aware and just watching this particular storm because it is definitely heading in your general direction. So again, for Grant and LaSalle Parish, again, there's not any particular communities popping up other than, I believe, Sand Spur, Pollock, and Antonia and Farmland. These are really the main communities that are really on the backside of this particular cell, but that could be where the rotation is indicating, because it's not just really where the red and the purple currently are. That's just an indication of the heavy rainfall. Usually a lot of times with tornadoes, it's usually where that yellow and the green kind of meet together. That's where you get your indication of your typical rotation. So it could be right there on that back side near Sandsbury and Antonia. Like I said, the rotation hasn't really been that strong. It's been really hard to really look at it on the velocity. We've been just getting a little bit shades of gray, and that's really the only thing that we've really been getting with this. Right. Honestly, not even showing. So this is looking at our radar.
You have to use the Shreveport velocity. Okay. There you go. Yeah, and see some decent strength there with some of those winds, but see the rotation potential as on the backside, like you mentioned, Chase, on the backside of this particular cell. But I don't necessarily see anything overly alarming, but there's certainly some decently strong winds and a broad level of rotation. It's a little bit tighter than the last time we looked at velocity, I would believe.
Okay, I'm just switching to Fort Polk radar now, so we have a little bit better indication, I would say. That's right around this. That one looks a little bit better, so it looks like it may have strengthened some. Yep. And this is just near the Camp Hartner area and just south of Breezy Hills. So this is kind of right along, going right across 165 right now. This is north of Sandspur and crossing over, it's about to cross over 165 where this area of rotation currently is right now, crossing State Road 524. If you live within any of the areas I just mentioned, Halcott, near Penn Darvish Road, you need to be in your tornado safe place right now, because we do have a better indication that the tornado has starting to strengthen a little bit with a good indication of that green and red right now.
Right. Chase, like Chase mentioned earlier several times, when we take a look at the greens and reds on this, what we call velocity, you see the winds. This measures winds moving towards and away from the radar, and the reason this helps us is because you see reds, which is winds moving away from the radar, and green, which is areas of winds moving towards the radar. And when you see areas like this, what we call a couplet of rotation here, or a velocity couplet, that's when we see reds and greens start stacking up. So that indicates to us you have winds toward and winds away, which could indicate decently strong rotation, which when you start seeing more reds and greens come together there, and when, especially when it gets gets muffled a little bit and those colors kind of blend together, that's when we start seeing that rotation strengthen just a bit. But like Chase has outlined here, Alla is expected to be in your area around 9:04. So if you're in Alla, definitely keep your head on the swivel and prepare for this particular system as it moves off to the north and east. But it's going to move more northeasterly. It should stay on the northeasterly track it's been on. It'll take it towards areas like Urania, and it's not necessarily showing up in our track here, but you notice how close you are to Alla, and Alla is included in the track around 9:04. So give or take a few minutes, I would certainly prepare to take your tornado precautions and reach your safe place, lowest floor, away from doors and windows. Definitely, I know most folks in Louisiana don't have basements due to that particular soil saturation we're talking about earlier, but if you have a lowest room away from doors, windows, get in there and possibly carry some blankets or pillows and lay down and make sure you have adequate cover on head and neck areas, because head and neck are the two most prominent areas that cause tornado injuries and fatalities, serious injuries and fatalities during tornado events, if I'm not mistaken, Chase.
Yeah, right now it's looking like it's going to go just to the northeast of the Gina area, and so not expecting it to potentially head that direction, but it's still close enough that you definitely need to be watching the system, and we're definitely watching the system as it's making its way to the northeast about 25 miles per hour. Again, it's starting to exit Grant Parish, it's crossing 165, and it's about to enter LaSalle Parish right now. This is just to the south of Georgetown and between Georgetown and the Gina area, but right now the area's dry prong is no longer considered in the actual warning. They thinned it out on the back side there, but right now there's a pretty decent indication of rotation right where you see that shade of green in the mix of all that red, that we have inbound winds right in the middle of those outbound winds, so therefore we have that good decent indication of rotation. So earlier this particular storm didn't have at all hardly any rotation, and they actually allowed it to expire, but they reissued it because now we're starting to see stronger evidence of rotation with this particular storm. It's crossing Highway 165 right now. This is not set to expire until 9 o'clock, but if this particular rotation keeps its strength right now, they could possibly extend that particular warning further into LaSalle Parish, and looking like it might move again between Gina and Georgetown. And if you live in the areas I just mentioned, you need to be watching this particular storm very closely. Again, crossing Highway 165 near Halcott, just to the south of Breezy Hill. You're not included in the tornado warning, but you're close enough. I would honestly seek shelter right now, just in case you're close enough. They're not in the warning, but the tornado itself is close enough, a little too close to comfort in my opinion, because this particular area of rotation is along the outer edge of that polygon, and they might possibly extend that polygon because we're not really seeing any signs of the rotation weakening at all.
Right, Chase. Earlier when we looked at this particular cell and the rotation was fairly minimal, it wasn't very particular and very noticeable on this particular product here, the velocity product, but like you mentioned, we've seen an increase in the potential rotation here and the potential tornadic development, what we call tornadogenesis with this cell. And as it moves to the north and east, as we continue to see that become apparent on the velocity product, that's when we're going to continue to stay with the cell. And the National Weather Service not going to let this expire unless we see that rotation really become fairly minimal like we saw earlier when it was allowed to expire. But definitely areas like Halcott, Breezy Hill to the south of this, I would certainly be taking your tornado precautions. I know this is not what you want to see on your Thursday morning, but regardless, we do have potential rotation moving towards your area. So I'd definitely move to the lowest floor of your particular structure, away from doors, windows, and any potential flimsy structures. But if you're in a mobile home in areas like Halcott, the time is now. The time is really running out fairly quickly. Not a confirmed tornado on the ground by any means yet, but the potential rotation is there, and should we see this drop a tornado, it's going to move right towards your area. And now's the time. If you're in a mobile home, you want to get out and get to a sturdy structure. Even an area like a gas station or a metal or brick building, a sturdy building would be better than a mobile home. But areas to the northeast, definitely going to be in the path of this particular tornado warning. And I'm going to take off this warning box here and kind of move up a little bit to the left and out to the east. And as we take a look, areas like Lincecum also going to be awfully close, not included in the polygon, but like we mentioned, these particular cells can and often do take a turn during the life of the storm multiple times, which we call a wobble, could send it either way in the directional potential. So if you're in the northeastern path of this storm, whether it's right in the path of this particular cell or the polygon, where it looks like the polygon will be extended, may not actually be where it encompasses, meaning that this could shift either way, whether it's north or northeasterly or both. So definitely get in your safe place.
So, new update, they have allowed the tornado warning that was up in Webster Parish that was moving into Claiborne Parish. It has been allowed to expire up towards the northwest, and as of right now, we only have one tornado warning currently within our viewing area. However, there's still a lot of activity coming our way from the west, coming out of Shreveport. They've already issued another severe thunderstorm warning. Again, this is just to the south of Shreveport, along with multiple flash flood warnings. And that was a concern we were talking about earlier in today's show that I was more concerned with the possibility of all the heavy rainfall, where we could possibly see 2, possibly even 3 inches of rainfall with some of these heavy storms, and therefore flash flooding could be a possibility later on into the latter half of this morning.
Right, and as those heavy rains continue to come down in areas of our viewing area overnight into this morning, I know we've said it multiple times, but it's kind of the catalyst behind our flash flooding and also our general flooding concerns is that heavy rainfall and the rainfall accumulation overnight only causing that flash flooding, and then the roads you see, roads and grounds above the ground level, seeing that rain sitting there having a hard time soaking in. But also what you're going to see is that ground becomes softer and super saturated is what we call it. And as that happens, that loosens up the soil and the ground, and that further increases the opportunity for things like trees, power poles, stop signs, anything that's stuck into the ground with a metal pole, not necessarily a guarantee that that's going to stay in the ground should some of these heavy winds follow an area of heavy rainfall.
Yeah, like I said, again, the only active warning right now we have is just to the south, that is within Grant, leaving Grant going into LaSalle Parish. That's the only active warning we currently have, but there's a lot of activity even going on right now. And hang on, I might be able to fix that for you there.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, you seem to jump that one up. Hang on, I'll move it back.
Really got a mind of its own this morning.
Yeah, hang on. Yeah. So what I was going to point out was there's a lot of heavy rainfall occurring right now in southern Arkansas, stretching from El Dorado down to Ruston, and there's already a few storms popping up right now between Monroe and Columbia, stretching down into Wynn Parish, just northeast of Winfield. None of these particular storms are strong, but we are indicating a lot of heavy rain, and so if they continue like this with all the system moving in from the west out of Mansfield and Shreveport, we're going to be picking up on a lot of extra heavy rainfall over the course of the next several hours going into the latter half of this morning, which could continue into this afternoon. So this is definitely going to be an active day as far as all the rainfall we could possibly see, with the ground already saturated. We've already been having rainfall for the past couple of days, and now as we head into the latter half of this week with all the rain, the ground is already saturated, and there's just nowhere for this water to go once the rain makes it to the ground. So we could have a lot of low-lying areas potentially flooding. And if you encounter any of these roadways, just avoid them. Don't drive through standing water. If you ever see water rushing over, it doesn't have to be a strong rush, but just moving over the road, don't try to drive through that at all. It doesn't take but maybe 6 inches of water to completely sweep a vehicle off of the road.
Right, and as some of these heavy rain bands and heavy storms approach areas encompassing the interstates, you're going to see heavy rains and winds all combining to bring visibilities down to potentially less than a mile in areas. So trying to traverse those areas at a high rate of speed, not necessarily ideal or encouraged. Definitely a recipe for disaster, but I would certainly encourage you, if you can, to stay off the interstates out to the east of these particular cells as they make their way on through our viewing area. Going to be a little bit before we clear of storms and rainfall, but the main concern still remains the tornadic potential of this cell down to the south in our southern parishes here. And as that continues, we're going to stay with you and continue to monitor this potential rotation. And like we mentioned before, if you're just joining us, this is the velocity product. This is where we see winds to and from the radar. This is what this measures. And once you see reds and greens, greens being towards the radar, reds being going away, once they start stacking up beside each other, reds and greens, we measure these in pixels. That's when you start seeing that rotation potential increase, and concerns increases with it as well. But right now, we're still monitoring this tornado warning that is in place for areas down to our south, but more specifically for areas in Grant Parish here. This tornado warning set to originally expire at 9 a.m., but most likely Chase is about to give us an update on the potential status of the cancellation or continuation of this particular warning.
So we do have a new update that's issued by the National Weather Service. It's not popped up yet on our screen just yet, but it should in just a moment. But the National Weather Service has put out a bulletin. They have extended the current tornado warning. Okay, there it is. There's the new one that we were waiting to pop up just now. So notice it's moving to the northeast, so they've shifted it a little bit to the north where that rotation is. And I'm trying to, there we go. maybe a little bit better. So this is a new tornado warning that the same particular tornado that we've been watching moving to the north in Grant Parish. It's bleeding a little bit along the Grant and LaSalle Parish line right there. It's coming now to the south of Georgetown. And remember, we were looking at this particular cell moving more northeast, but now it's a little bit more northerly now as it's moving up towards Georgetown right now. And the tornado warning is not set to expire until 9:30, so they extended it for another 30 minutes. If you live in the area around Georgetown, along Highway 165 from Georgetown down all the way to about Pollock, you need to be in your tornado safe place right now. A mobile home is not a safe place to be. Get to an interior closet, move to a basement or tornado shelter if you can. Those are the best places to be. And like I said, mobile home is not a safe place to be right now. We're still seeing decent rotation with this particular storm, and because the rotation is still strong enough, they have extended this warning into northern areas of Grant Parish. This is also along the border with LaSalle Parish and Georgetown. The community of Georgetown lies, looking like it lies in the particular path of this particular area of rotation of this tornado right now. It's currently crossing 165 State Road 524. So remember I said Breezy Hill earlier was not in the tornado warning? Guess what? You guys are now in the warning, like in the heart of it. I said earlier it was a little too close to comfort for me along the edge of that polygon, and so now you guys are now in the heart of that polygon. The tornado is now shifting and crossing right over you guys. You need to be in your tornado safe place right now. Get to a basement. You need to be underground shelter, an interior closet or bathroom. It's the best place for you to be right now. Breezy Hill, around Mudville, I don't know how to pronounce this one, Line, Killam,
Lincecum, I believe.
Yeah, okay. And Halcott, you guys are within this warning. Now, Gainville to the northeast, you guys are also in the path of the storm because you're also within the polygon. So you guys also need to start heading to your safe place right now. But this particular rotation is currently over Breezy Hill and Halcott, moving toward the Mudville area, crossing Highway 165, heading towards Selma and the Hester community and portions of Grant and LaSalle Parish.
Yes, and though this may not be the most serious situation you'll see all week, this is the most serious situation you've seen in these particular areas all week to this date. So with this being potentially a serious and life-threatening situation, what you want to do is get in the lowest floor of your structure away from doors and windows. Get on the most interior room that you can, the rooms that have the most walls, so to speak. I know it sounds elementary at times, but it's just an elementary concept as far as understanding that. You want as many walls between you and the outside as possible, and the way you're going to do that is get in the most interior room of your home or structure, away from doors and windows. Potentially cover yourself with blankets or pillows, protect your head from flying debris. As I mentioned multiple times, with tornadic events, the largest area of deaths and serious injuries result from blunt force trauma wounds to the head or skull region. And sometimes that could be easily prevented by covering your head or neck area with a blanket, pillow, or even what we've been recommending during this severe weather season is a bicycle or football helmet to put on as you go into that safe place, and then also double up and cover yourself up with blankets or pillows on top of that. Maybe if you can carry a mattress into the bathroom or most interior structure, that would also help as well. But this just helps to mitigate flying debris from damaging your head or neck or skull region. But also closed-toed shoes should you take a hit from potential tornadic circulation, or a tornado should one be put down. You wear closed-toed shoes and you could walk over some of that debris, bricks, board, glass, nails as you head out of the damaged structure and seek help. Also an air horn. If you take a direct hit and you can't particularly exit that structure, an air horn would alert first responders that you need assistance. And that way they know that someone is in that particular area, so they don't pass over your structure if they're checking to see if folks need help or checking for folks in certain residences. Those are just some things you can do to prepare, not only while you're in the polygon, but certainly before you're in the severe warning, or in this case, a tornado warning as well. Like Chase mentioned, areas like Georgetown, directly in the path of this potential circulation here, areas like Georgetown, Selma, Hester, Mudville, you got Mill Lake Road here, Lincecum, all in the path of this circulation. And you notice I've been referring to the potential wobble of the storm throughout the duration of this warning, how storms could wobble either way. This has actually taken a wobble. I believe, Chase, it looks to me like this has moved more northerly in its track. It's still moving to the northeast, but this particular warning to the south, like we mentioned, it could move in a more northerly track, and it's done so already, and that's why this next warning has been issued out ahead of time. So this also can key you in that the National Weather Service is still seeing that potential rotation, and as that's the case, if you're ahead of this second polygon, I would certainly take your tornado precautions, and even if a little bit ahead of that polygon, keep your head on the swivel and start going over your potential severe weather plans should this particular cell move towards your area more to the northeast. And maintain this circulation. Chase, do you have anything new?
I don't have anything new. The Weather Service did say they're going to continue to monitor the rotation for this particular storm. Nothing's been confirmed yet. This is all radar indicated. There's not been any spotter or anything like that has confirmed this on the ground. However, we do have a pretty decent rotation signature right here. And looking at the storm relative velocity, and yeah,
it's getting brighter.
Yeah, you can definitely see the brightness of the that green and then a little bit of red there. And I'm trying to look at the shear rate. So there is some shear with that, and because of that, that's the reason why there's enough of it fueling this particular storm. Now, the original tornado warning for this storm, if you lie within that polygon, it was set to expire at 9 o'clock. Most of that area is in the clear. Sandspur, Antonia. If you live along Highway 165 from Camp Hartner to Sandspur and Antonia, you guys are pretty much in the clear. Right now, our main concern is north of that area around Breezy Hill and Halcott and Mudville. This is moving towards Selma and Georgetown. I'm going to see if I can't get a storm track on this and give you an idea. Because this is now, it went from a east-northeasterly direction to a more northerly direction, so you can kind of see where the polygons have shifted more to the north, and that's really the direction a lot of these storms are starting to take right now. So I'm going to do a storm track right here, drawing it out for the next 50 miles. Georgetown, it'll be in your area about 9:05. That's within the next 6 minutes right now. We're a minute shy of the top of the hour. It's 9:14 in Urania and about 9:18 over in Ala. If you lie within any of these communities I just mentioned, you need to start paying attention and heading to your tornado safe place, because you only have about 6 minutes, especially for Georgetown, before this area of rotation, this tornado, is going to be within your area. Now, if the rotation continues, we could see the potential for that polygon to get extended further in the track that I currently have drawn out right here, because that seems to be the motion of this particular storm system.
Chase, if you would for me really quickly, would you hit the home button, kind of zoom out, and let's take a wider view. I'll do it here. We'll take a wider view of the whole system, and as you take a look at the potential storms moving through the variety of the Arclymmus and the whole Arclymmus here, what you want to take a look at first and note, as we go back to reflectivity here, I want to note that what normally happens with storms like this, and as we have another tornado warning out to the west, which we'll touch on in just a moment, what we're pointing out here is that if you take a look at the potential setup of the circulation down in the far southern areas of our viewing area, such as the one that moved through Grant Parish, I believe Chase would wholeheartedly agree here, but what normally happens in situations like this is these storms that are furthest to the south and east here are able to draw in more air that's conducive to storm development, and they're not taken away by storms further to the north, like you're seeing the cell to our west. Not to discount this particular cell, but this cell to the west still has storms to the south that could draw away from its particular, what we call storm fuel in simple terms. But if you take a look at the circulation down to the south and east, down that moved through Grant Parish, it's out by itself, and it's able to draw in a lot more of those warm, humid, and moist winds and air that increases the potential for this circulation to continue. What I'm saying, to simplify it, is there's not much out in front of this storm to stop it should it continue in the more northeasterly track. But if it takes a more northerly track, that's going to take it more so in the direction of some of these storms that are moving to the north and east. And our hope with this potential rotation down to the south is that it moves more northeasterly, which would in turn take away some of the inflow from this storm as it counteracts with the other storms in the line.
So we do have a new update. There's another tornado warning that's starting to extend out of Red River Parish, and it's starting to move into portions of Bienville Parish. So it's, again, this is a second warning that would be potentially moving into our viewing area right here. This is to the southeast of Shreveport. Again, this is in Red River Parish right now, but it's heading to the northeast and about to cross, if it continues its track, into around
oh boy,
Parish.
That one looks decent.
And you can tell this one looks a little bit more
decently nasty there.
It looks, yeah, this one definitely has a little bit more stronger rotation, because you can kind of see a circular motion. This is looking at the Shreveport radar. It's a bit closer, but you can just kind of see it starting to twirl there. So that's definitely a decent indication of some rotation. And what's really interesting, I'd say, about all this, you know, we were only under a marginal threat today, and now this is like, what, the fourth tornado warning we've actually had? This is the second one to start to bleed into our viewing area right now. So again, this is starting to exit Red River Parish, starting to enter Bienville Parish. This is near Hall Summit and heading towards Castor. Castor's not in the tornado warning, however, is definitely within the path if it keeps the current track that it's currently on right now. Definitely be watching that particular system closely. Our biggest concern that we've been watching closely is the one coming out of Grant and LaSalle Parish. If you're just now joining with us, I know this is we're at the top of the hour, 3 minutes after. We're on the air right now for 2 tornado warnings that are within our viewing area. One for Grant and LaSalle Parish, and the other one that's exiting Red River Parish and coming into Bienville Parish right now. And we're on the air and will continue to cover these 2 particular tornado warnings until they are set to expire. This new warning is not set to expire until 9:30, and the new tornado warning for Grant and LaSalle Parish, that's also not set to expire until 9:30. So we'll definitely be with you for at least the next 30 minutes until these storms start to show indication of any sign of weakening. But right now, they're not really. The one coming out of Red River Parish, no signs at all of weakening at all. And I'm going to switch back to the Fort.
That velocity over there, Chase, looks decently strong and kind of menacing, honestly. Like you mentioned, as you take a look at that velocity, Chase is zooming in on it there. You kind of not only see the circular motion, but as he zooms in a little bit further, notice the reds and the greens kind of coming together. There's a little bit of a gray period, or a gray area between the reds and greens, indicating we do have some, you definitely see some rotation here. I definitely see that with my meteorological viewpoint here, meteorological colored glasses, if you will, rose-colored glasses. But not to make light of the situation, but Chase, I would agree that this is a decent circulation here. You see some of the grays as the circulation becomes a little bit muddled as far as the reds and greens there.
Yeah, now this is in Red River Parish. This is just outside our viewing area. However, they have extended that warning into Bienville Parish right now, and it doesn't include the community of Castor. However, it potentially will as it continues its track. It got it pretty narrow right there, and it could continue to the northeast into Bienville Parish into Castor. So definitely be watching that particular storm right now. But like I said, it's outside of the viewing area, and it really just clips portions of Bienville Parish. So it's just a southwesternly area of Bienville Parish that's in that warning. It's the actual tornado itself, the area rotation, is in Red River Parish. So not to alert anyone in Bienville Parish right now to start taking shelter. I'm not saying that. However, we need to be watching that particular cell particularly because it's starting to show signs of intensifying a little bit.
Start having a plan for sure.
Definitely need to be having a plan.
And also, it begs the question once again, or brings a question back to the forefront. We've mentioned multiple times, also since we've been on the air, we have folks we haven't checked the chat because, of course, we're busy with tornado potential coverage here and tornado warning coverage, but the potential question probably has arose multiple times. Why would we be focused on a storm that's outside of our viewing area? Now, we definitely do have a storm that's in our viewing area that's tornado warned that moved through sections of Grant Parish, but should that have been dropped, we would probably still be on the air focusing on this other tornado warning out to the west. And the reason for that is if you look at the duration of the warning, or the potential duration of the warning, if it lasts throughout the original duration time the National Weather Service issued, most likely that circulation would take it right on down into our viewing area and into Bienville Parish as well. So the reason for us staying on air with a potential storm that's right outside of our viewing area, once again, we do have one in our viewing area, but should one be canceled and we focus on one right outside, the reason for that is because of the potential for it to move right on into our viewing area. And the polygons that they draw out from the Weather Service office are their most confident track of the storm, and they do take into account a little bit of what we call human error either way, which means it takes into account motion of the storm that could move more southerly or northerly, so they add that more broad area out in the front section of the polygon, which is why you see the shape here becomes more wide as you take a look at the far end of the polygon, because it could shift more easterly or more northerly as well. And as that occurs, more areas could be included in this potential risk rather than just including a straight box, if you will. But once again, I also want to note real quickly as we have approached and moved past the top of the hour, if you're just joining us, we haven't issued warnings based on counties in a long time. What we issue is warnings called polygons, and these polygons are geometric shapes that encompass areas I was just referring to. The National Weather Service issues these based on their best meteorological expertise as of the track of the potential storm. And as it moves to the more northeast, more areas could be added, and if this particular storm to the north continues, it will continue into our area. But we want to focus once again down into Grant Parish, where we do have that tornado warning continuing as well. And this potential circulation, and we do have, well, saying potential circulation, potential tornado, we do have the circulation there, and we have noticed decent strengthening at times of the circulation. And as it moves more to the north, that's taking it right over. Here we go, a plethora of towns. Thank you, Chase, for pulling that up there. He's doing a good job on the computer, giving him a little bit of trouble today. But Gaineyville, Hester, Selma, Georgetown, Grandstaff, Rochelle, and Grandstaff right outside this particular polygon. But as that's the case, notice how close you are to the edge of this polygon, and this polygon and this warning, this specific warning, has been going for a little bit now, and it's a strong likelihood that this warning will be extended a little bit more to the north and northeast, which would put you right in the midst of the next warning as this circulation moves to the north and east. So I would certainly if you don't want to make your tornado precautions or don't feel like doing that at the moment, I would recommend it. But if you don't, start going through your plans in those areas right now as it moves through Grant Parish as well, Chase, and also going to continue well into our viewing area.
Yeah, there still hasn't been any new updates, but the tornado warning for Grant LaSalle Parish is still set to expire around 9:30, and the other tornado warning just off to the northwest coming out of Red River Parish into Bienville Parish, it's also not set to expire until at least 9:30. So we have two active tornado warnings right now in our coverage area, one for Grant LaSalle and then one for Bienville Parish, but it's currently in Red River Parish, but it's going to be exiting that parish and moving into our viewing area. And it was showing strong signs of rotation. Looking at the velocity, it was a lot stronger than the one that we saw coming through Grant and LaSalle. Now, all these storm systems currently are making their way out of the northwest Louisiana, moving into our area, and we're going to be dealing with this, I would say, for at least the next hour into the latter half of this morning, and then going into possibly even the early afternoon hours, because these storms are not really moving that fast across the region. Looking right now, this is the Doppler radar in Shreveport. Really, there's just a lot of heavy rainfall occurring, stretching all the way from almost Ruston all the way back into Texas right now, and that's the reason why we were saying earlier flash flooding was going to be a potential concern with these storm systems moving their way through. Again, there's nothing happening right now in southern Arkansas. There's no active warnings in Arkansas other than the flash flood warnings for central areas outside of our viewing area. We only have two active alerts right now within the viewing area. That's for Grant LaSalle and the one coming out of Red River Parish that does include Bienville Parish, and it's exiting Red River and moving into Bienville right now. Those are the only two warnings, and that's the reason why we are currently on air right now, watching and monitoring these storms and keeping you informed. Again, we've been zoomed in for both of them, but we're going to zoom back in. I want to go back to that one near Red River Parish, because again, it wasn't really showing a whole lot of signs of weakening. Matter of fact, that was the strongest area of rotation that we have seen so far this morning.
Correct, Chase. I agree with you. That was the strongest area of rotation we've seen. And we saw those reds and greens start to become kind of muddled together in the midst of that tornado warning. And the the northwestern warning here that Chase is zooming in on. And as you take a look at that, once they become a little bit more muddled, that's where you look for some of those inbound and outbound winds kind of mixing together, and it gets the rotation started. But also what you can note with this particular product, this is the velocities, this is strictly relating to the winds. Also note the circular pattern of the signature here in parts of the area that'll take it into Bienville Parish. And just a little bit, should this stay on the ground, and like Chase mentioned, I don't see any reason this particular system or this particular storm system there that we're pointing out here should be canceled, or the warning should be canceled as it moves off to the north-northeast, because this particular system is exhibiting signs of continuing that rotation as it moves to the north and east. And this isn't necessarily embedded in a huge area of rainfall or a line, which with those situations, when we see what we call a squall line, you often see other parts of the line which could gust out and cut off storm inflow, or in simple terms, storm fuel, or what if you want to call it, fresh winds flowing into the storm, which would mean that this storm has a fresh set of winds that could keep it going out in the front of the rest of the complex of storms behind it.
So new updates regarding the National Weather Service. They're currently putting out a bulletin right now. They're currently on call with the Storm Prediction Center out in Oklahoma regarding the possibility of SBC issuing a tornado watch for portions of northern Louisiana and possibly even southern Arkansas, because we're starting to see increased signs of instability, increased wind shear across the region, which is really what increases that tornadic threat. So this has all been happening just this morning within the past couple of hours. You go back about 5 or 6 hours ago, and these signs weren't even there. This is all happening just like as we're talking to you right now, and that's the reason why with meteorology, you know, it can be hard to forecast and pinpoint where exactly these things are going to be forming. So it's really important that, you know, we keep you informed, and as they happen, to let you know what we're seeing and be transparent with you with what the Weather Service is putting out, what we are seeing here on our radars right now. We have 2 active tornado warnings right now. The one in Red River Parish is looking like it's beginning to decrease a little bit, as a weaken a little bit. It was really strong indication. It looked like a twirl almost of that red and green. It looked like kind of circular, like water moving in a circle, and that was what a strong signature for a potential. But we haven't seen a whole lot as far as like a debris signature with any of these particular storms, but there hasn't been anything confirmed by the Weather Service as far as a trained spotter. And I really feel like a lot of this potentially caught maybe the Weather Service and even us a little off guard, sort of. Because like I said, we were only under that marginal risk earlier this morning, and now they've issued 2 more warnings, and right now we're on standby if whether or not the SBC will issue a tornado watch or not.
Right, Chase, and while you touch on that, I also want to touch on the potential for, you mentioned it kind of caught us off guard, and with the potential for severe weather, whether it's a level 1 or anywhere through a level 1 up through 5. Of course, once you start getting up level 3 and above, it's going to be a very concerning day for severe weather. But what I'm getting at here is we've seen a marginal risk for severe weather over the past few hours and into last night as well. We were actually outside of the marginal risk for severe weather. And Chase and I both noted yesterday, actually wasn't on air yesterday, I was actually behind the scenes, but Chase and I were speaking, and we noted that even though we weren't in the particular marginal risk with the environment that we had, there was the potential we didn't expect any tornado warnings, but we also saw the potential for some stronger storms maybe developing, and that's kind of what's taking place today. Even though we actually are in a marginal risk today, which is a level 1 out of 5 risk, I know we say it all the time, at least I do here on the morning show, that even though it's a level 1 out of 5 marginal risk, that doesn't guarantee you'll see anything, and it certainly doesn't rule it out either. If there's the potential for some severe weather development, even though it's small, the potential is there that we could see an increase, whether that's a small increase or a large increase in severe weather potential on into the daytime hours. And that's what we're seeing right now. Like Chase mentioned, Weather Service currently considering upgrading our potential to not only probably a severe weather outlook continued into the day, but also a tornado watch potentially issued for our area. But let's turn our focus back to the tornado warning to the south. Take a look at that at the moment, and we'll jump back between these 2 tornado warnings as they both approach. I believe that western storm is approaching Bienville Parish pretty soon, Chase. But the storm down to the south is moving towards areas like Georgetown, Urania, all in the path of this particular cell. And as it moves to the north and northeast, I say it a lot and we'll say it again, though there is not a confirmed tornado on the ground, We do have radar indicated rotation, which means that you see some of these winds starting to mix together. Chase, if you want to circle it there, or I can circle it. As you see that, you'll start to notice that the rotation could continue on into the areas to the north and east. And the reason for the continuation and that potential is, I mentioned moments ago, this particular cell is out farther to the south and east of the larger complex of storms which will move through later in the morning. That being the case, and to simplify things, this storm is out in front of the rest of the scattered line of storms, and as that's the case, there's not really other storms to take away from the driving force behind this storm and its strengthening factors. It's fresh wind, a south and southeasterly wind, and warmer, more humid, moist air actually able to flow up into the storm. But to simplify things, this storm, not necessarily any reason to believe it's just going to fall apart anytime soon. Chase, do you agree?
Yeah, I totally agree. We definitely need to be watching this particular storm coming near the Georgetown area. If you live in the Georgetown area, you need to be in your tornado safe place right now. I circled out the actual area of rotation right here. Here's Georgetown. The area of rotation is just to the south of it. It's already crossed Highway 165, and it's moving into LaSalle Parish, heading towards Urania and Alla right now. We'll be there about 9:30 and 9:39. We're about 18 minutes past the hour. It will be there within the next 15 to 20 minutes in the Alla and Urania area. In Georgetown, you guys are already in that particular warning. You need to be in your safe place now, but if you're in the areas I just mentioned, you need to be watching the storm particularly in case they extend that tornado warning, because it's showing a few signs of it weakening. It's not a strong indication, but there's still enough there to keep that tornado warning active right now, and that's really our main concern right now, is the potential of it reaching the ground. It's like I said, just to the south of Georgetown, crossing Mills Lake Road near Selma and Hester and Gaineyville. If you're in any of the areas I just mentioned, Mudville, looking just around Bear Creek, that's just off to the northwest there, but those other areas I mentioned, you need to be in your tornado safe place right now. Underground shelter, a basement are the best places you can possibly be right now, and if you don't have that, an interior closet or an interior bathroom are also the best place you can be. Mobile homes are not a safe place to be during any type of tornado situation. It doesn't matter if it's a weak tornado, an EF0, it still could cause damage to a mobile home, and it's not a good place to be right now. Definitely need to be checking up on your loved ones. Again, if you live within the areas I had mentioned, I'll draw out it again. This is the particular area of rotation we're currently looking at right now. Moving to the north and northeast at about 25 miles per hour, I would say on the backside of this particular storm system, back down where we were earlier, if I can get looked at down, there we go. This is near the Breezy Hill, Halcott, and Camp Hartner area. You know, we were just talking about you guys earlier. You guys, I would say, are now a little bit in the all clear. You're on the backside of this particular area of rotation. I'd say it's past you guys. You're still in the tornado warning, so that doesn't mean you're all clear just yet, but I would definitely say that the area of rotation is on the northern section of this polygon that's been driven out or drawn out, and so definitely need to be in your safe place around the Mudville, Selma, Georgetown, Hester, Gaineyville. Now, just outside that polygon, again, we're kind of looking towards the edges of the polygon. This is near the Rochelle and Grandstaff area. Again, you guys are in the path of it as well. If this thing holds together, you need to be heading to your safe place right now. You're only going to have probably the next 5 to possibly 10 minutes to get to your shelter in the Rochelle and Grandstaff area. You're not in the warning, but remember I said Breezy Hill earlier was not in the warning. Guess what? The area of rotation went right over you guys. So again, we're watching this particular storm very closely, and looking back now, that is the only tornado warning that down to our south, and we have another one just off to the west. That was the one coming out of Red River and Bienville Parish.
Yeah, Chase, and
it looks like we have a new one. Yeah, there's been a new one. That's the reason why I was zooming back, because I thought I saw a bulletin of another one that popped up. So this is, if I can get the bulletin popped up, a new tornado warning. This is for, I'm trying to see where they put it out for. I can't seem to find it, but this is actually outside our viewing area. This is near the Mansfield area, so this is not within our viewing area. Let me pull up the radar here, Shreveport radar real quick, and just see. Okay, so near the Mansfield area, there's a new tornado warning out in that direction. I wasn't familiar with what parish that was in.
Looks like a bit of a notch south of Mansfield, Chase. Just on the edge of that storm there, looks like a bit of a notch. Kind of see that notch there, I believe, unless I know the monitor's kind of blurry there, but I believe that looks like a bit of a notch, Chase. I know you can.
Yeah, there's a little bit notch in that red and green right there. You can kind of see where it's kind of bowing out a little bit, that red and green. And if I can get the velocity pulled up here, you might be able to do it better with your, hang on. If you can, see if you can do it with your hand tracker there.
Yeah, I can definitely pull that up for you right here.
Okay, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, you can kind of see a kink in the line there. That kind of indicates some of those winds starting to push back. You see those incoming winds and the outgoing wind, inbound, outbound. And as those start to push together there, kind of start to see the kink in the line. And as we see that, you can start to see possibly a circulation develop along that kink in the line there. See those inbound and outbound winds start to become a little more apparent as this particular cell moves off to the east-northeast. And another thing I wanted to note, as Chase was speaking about the cell down to the south and west, the cell that began in Grant Parish and moved into parts of LaSalle Parish, as this cell begins to outrun areas that are still included in the polygon, he mentioned areas to the south of the particular polygon here down to the south and west. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. Oh, that's our hand tracker's really playing with us today and throwing us for a loop, but zoom back out a little bit here and we'll get over to it. It's down to the south and west in this particular polygon. And as we do that here, Chase, would you mind zooming? I got it, never mind this. What I'm referring to.
Something I was about to add just now. So they have issued a new severe thunderstorm warning. This is for Grant, LaSalle, and Caldwell Parish. Radar indicated 60-mile-per-hour winds. Hail is about just over 3/4 of an inch, which is really just shy of severe limits, however, but the winds are indicated at 60 miles per hour. This is for Caldwell and LaSalle Parish, and also in Grant Parish as well. So the same particular storm system that was the tornado warning got issued, they've also issued a severe thunderstorm warning for the little cell that's started to develop back behind the main front behind it. And we have two severe thunderstorm warnings. The first one was for Grant, LaSalle. The second one, just to the north, is for LaSalle and Caldwell. So this particular storm has strengthened a little bit. The rotation seems to weaken some, but they definitely picked up as far as intensity, as far as the winds, and also with the heavy rain. And honestly, the one back behind it is starting to have a little curve along its backside. Pullock and Dry Prong, you guys just dealt with the tornado warning that came through, but now we have another cell that seemed to develop on the backside of it, and now we're seeing a new severe thunderstorm warning that's stretching from the Pullock area all the way up. Gina has actually been spared a lot of this. However, if it keeps its current track, it will definitely be within your guys' area here before too much longer. Let me draw out a track right here of the new cell. It's also moving to the northeast, and it will be in the Gina area around 9:55. So that's within the next 35 to 40 minutes will be in your area. And this is currently already passing over the Pullock area, and that's all included with that tornado warning that's also been issued. And this is stretching all the way up into the Alla and into Caldwell Parish around Clark's that you guys are included in the severe thunderstorm warning. Right
Chase is pointing out, it's good that he pointed this out in this particular area, because what you're seeing is what we were kind of alluding to earlier. If you'll notice the positioning of the storm with the tornado warning and the potential rotation here, notice the storm to the south of it, south and west, is kind of starting to, it appears to be catching the original storm a little bit. And if that's the case, most likely what you'll see is this storm begin to take away from the so-called storm fuel from this storm out to the front, and as it catches it, it's going to cut off some of these fresh south winds that come in with the warm, humid, and moist air. And should that be the case, most likely will start to choke off the circulation, so to speak. Not to say that's a guarantee, but that is what you would want if you'd want that circulation to rapidly decrease in intensity. But then as that occurs, and should that occur, your sole focus then would probably most likely shift to the storm system to the south, because this storm would become the new focus, as in the particular context we were referring to this storm just a couple minutes ago, meaning that it's going to become the storm that's further out to the south and west with no storms or rain below it, and then this will most likely start developing its own inflow and have its own what you would call fresh feed of nice southerly warm, humid, and moist air, which further inhibits or rather enhances storm development. What would be inhibiting would be the second cell catching the first storm over there. But to simplify things, we do have 3 tornado warnings, one down to the south and west here. We have 1 tornado warning kind of in the middle of your screen, and then a tornado warning just to the west of our viewing area. But once again, this brings back the point we made earlier that this tornado warning that's outside of our viewing area is worth informing you about, because this particular warning and the polygon, should it stay with the duration of the warning and not be canceled, that would bring it right on into our viewing area.
One thing I want to point out, the National Weather Service, I said earlier they were on call with the Storm Prediction Center out in Oklahoma, and they actually have just issued a tornado watch for our area. So I'll go ahead and pull that up now and show you what all that encompasses, if we can get to, there we go. So this actually includes a good chunk of our viewing area. Wow, our tracker.
Here you go, Chase. I'll set it up for Chase real quick and toss it back over to Chase in just a minute. But
well, I'm back.
There you go. He's got it.
I'm back in it now. Yeah.
Give him a little bit of slack. That computer system's really the mouse is throwing for a loop.
It's been really acting up, just jumping around with the mouse.
It's kind of disappearing.
Yeah, it was giving us some problems earlier today. But yeah, we have a new severe thunderstorm, tornado watch that's been issued for all of our coverage area, and that's not set to expire until 5 p.m. later today. So this is going to be a all-day type of situation. We're going to deal with this for the latter half of this morning, and this will continue through the afternoon hours and getting going around 5 o'clock. I'd say probably around 5. Remember, we were looking at the future tracker earlier. I mentioned most of the activity will be in the Mississippi River Valley by the time we get towards 4 and 5 o'clock. So this is going to be a daytime type of situation. This is going to be happening while people are at work, while kids are at school. So definitely going to be watching these storms in particular. But the tornado watch has been issued for our entire coverage area till at least 5 o'clock later on today. Again, that was the National Weather Service and SBC were talking to each other, and SBC went on ahead and issued that tornado watch because we do have active warnings starting to pop up. We have 3 right now in Louisiana, but there's 2 right now within our viewing area. The one coming out of Grant Parish, moving into LaSalle Parish, and we have that one. They clipped it a little bit out of Red River Parish, and now they've extended it to Bienville Parish. I'll go ahead and pull that one back up now, and then there's another one following right behind it. But there are some signs of it potentially weakening that's coming into Bienville Parish right now. Right.
If you notice the potential track of these circulations, notice this particular circulation as it moves up toward Bienville, if it goes in the north-northeasterly track, like we've seen these storms move in this morning, notice what's right in line of this potential circulation. Areas like Bienville, and moving up toward areas like Ruston eventually. Not to say this potential circulation will hold together long enough to reach that area, but still a strong storm by any means, and should the circulation dissipate and rotation dissipate, that's when we continue to monitor the other tornado warnings. But just want to mention this fairly quickly and then bounce around to the other warning in the area right now. But it's going to move right up toward areas like Castor, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit and kind of get a closer track, make sure we're not forgetting anybody here, and computer system.
Yeah, hang on. I'm going to see if I can't try to fix you. It's happening on your end and my end as well.
The issue with the mouse is disappearing on us, so when we go to click, it just disappears and clicks in some random area.
It seems to be happening with the hand tracker as well, because it's assuming that your mouse is there, but like I said, it's happening on my end and your end. So we apologize for the technical glitches with the map being popped up here or there. And like I said, the mouse has been kind of jumping around. We've been dealing with it all morning, but we've been making it work, and we're doing.
Regardless, we'd be here on air covering these tornado warnings.
Okay, since I was talking about that, they just allowed that tornado warning to expire that was coming into Bienville Parish. So good news out of that.
That is good news.
So now we only have 2 So they've also, hang on, I'm getting notifications. They allowed both of them to expire just now, so there's no longer any tornado warnings active
Chase,
within our viewing area.
Real quick, I actually want to let's break down this storm here. Let's take a look at this storm. I believe let's take a look at it and see what we can figure out about the likelihood of this particular cell moving into portions of our viewing area as well. Now, the good news with this cell is it's not necessarily in a fresh environment like those other cells you saw, the other two. Notice out in front of it, you have some storms out ahead of this circulation, and that would be good because, like I mentioned, it goes back to the same point of view here. Note when the storms are out by themselves, they're able to move uninterrupted with their own energy and storm flow, and when you have storms out ahead of them that could potentially get in front of the circulation and the inflow, that could cut off what we call the energy or the development of this storm. But as of now, that circulation is noted right outside of our viewing area, and should it continue, it's going to move right on into the viewing area, and this will take it more, this storm would move right on a track that would move more so right towards the middle portion of our viewing area and continue right through the heart of the Arclimus. But firstly, Chase, I want to take a look at, this one's more located towards the southern side of Louisiana, so let's take a look at the Fort Polk radar here, and as we take a look at that, let's notice, I'm not sure what's going on with the potential, or with the future, or the hand tracker here, but let's take a look at the velocity on this particular storm out of Fort Polk, and it's not, there we go, now it's allowing me to click on it, and do see a little bit of a kink in the line there, and definitely some stronger winds with this storm, but this storm, I believe, is moving in a direction that would cause it to be of a concern to folks right in the heart of the Arclimus. I believe so, Chase, and you know what's right out in front of that, should it continue in the north-northeasterly direction. This is the Jonesboro-Hodge area, an area that's no stranger to tornadic development, especially over the past few years. Not to say that there will be a tornado that develops and continues in that direction, nor that there's a tornado on the ground right now. But as we take a look at velocity here, you'll notice, Chase, that we do get a clear review of the velocity from the Fort Polk radar, with it just being closer to this particular system. It's able to shoot closer to the ground rather than using the radars further to the north. But do you notice anything that's immediately outstanding to you?
Not a whole lot. Like I said, right around this particular, I'll draw a line at right here. This is kind of where the area of rotation currently is right now. It's very, very broad right now, so there's not a whole lot showing here. I've been switching between the Shreveport and the Fort Polk radar site, and again, there's just a broad area of rotation right there, and I think the Weather Service is just staying on the safe side.
Yeah.
They're still monitoring this particular storm, but as of right now, there's no longer any tornado warnings active right now within our viewing area, so there is we do have some good news to share regarding that. However, we do have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings that have been issued for Grant, LaSalle, and Caldwell Parish, and they're not set to expire till at least 10:30 today.
Right, and that's a good point, Chase. And as they're prone to continue and expected to continue, also want to note that the rotation in both of these particular cells, it's not to say that the rotation is going to completely fizzle out and go away. It's just that the Weather Service believes that right now it's not in the strengthening phase, and it's not there as much as it was in the form of a concern to drop a tornado close or imminently. But as we particularly zoom in, I do want to examine these cells at least a couple times over, Chase, before we kind of just let them go. But we want to take a look at those right now and kind of see what the state of the rotation is in this particular cell to the south of Columbia, because it is about to move up towards the Columbia area, and it does have decently strong winds with this particular system. But thankfully, as it approaches areas like Georgetown, Arania, and Alla, actually going to not be as strong, but there is still the potential that this circulation could fire up once again with the situation as it relates to the placement within the line of storms. It being out ahead, it has the prime opportunity and first opportunity to develop into a stronger storm encompassing rotation as well. Now, I believe you see a little bit of rotation still lingering there, Chase, but it's definitely not as pronounced as it once was, but it's not completely gone away.
it hasn't. I mean, they have canceled all tornado warnings for our area. The only thing we have going on right now is the severe thunderstorm warning for Grant, LaSalle, and for Caldwell Parish. The National Weather Service says radar indicated 60-mile-per-hour winds. Hail is around 3/4 of an inch, just shy of 1 inch, which actually is considered severe. However, the winds of 60 miles per hour is severe strength, and so they're going to continue these two particular severe thunderstorm warnings at least for the next hour, because it's going to run to at least 10:30. So as of right now, those are the only two storms that pose a major threat right now. Now, they have issued a new severe thunderstorm warning. This is stretching from Mansfield to Natchitoches. This is not really within our viewing area. However, it's important to just note that all these storms, they're starting to move into the viewing area. But the good news we have to share right now, there are no active tornado warnings within the viewing area, but we do have the tornado watch that has been issued for our entire coverage area, and that's not set to expire until at least 5 p.m. later on today. So definitely need to stay active and weather aware as we head into the afternoon and evening hours, and I would say we're clear enough to go ahead and go off air until our next warning gets issued.
Right before we send it back, I agree with Chase. We'll briefly, in just a moment, should be clear to send you back to programming, but just before we do that, just want to take kind of a quick look around the area, because it's been a little bit since we've been able to do that, but now since the tornado warnings have been allowed to expire, we can kind of give you a broad scope of what's in the area and what's to come. And also notice that I believe, Chase, that tornado warning out to the west has now been allowed to expire with the broad rotation. So what we're just dealing with now is severe thunderstorms. But also, once again, we don't want to hold you too long as far as your regular scheduled programming. There's not any tornado warnings in the area, but the reason we're continuing to examine this very quickly is because we do have those two cells down to the south and west that do exhibit signs of rotation and still have a little bit of it, just not enough to warrant a tornado warning. But what we're seeing here, the overall general pattern to remember before we send you back to programming, is we're going to continue to see showers and storms through the rest of the morning and into the afternoon. But note that areas up in north central Louisiana and southern Arkansas, which have seen quite a bit of rainfall accumulation over the past 12 to 15 hours, especially overnight into this morning, now also receiving heavy downpours as well as torrential rainfall, flash flooding, and we mentioned this several times, but with a damaging wind threat and now a tornado watch, the National Weather Service definitely believes there's enough potential to develop some more shear in the environment, which could develop tornadoes. But what that means for you without the tornado warnings is there's some wind changing in the environment and some wind shifting, and with those saturated grounds, our main threat right now turns to the potential for some hail developing as well as damaging winds. And it would easily, I would say, I'm sure Chase would agree, that would easily push over trees or other objects that are not firmly rooted deeply in the ground after so much water over the past 12 to 15 hours. But Chase, you want to go over that tornado watch fairly quickly before we send them back, and I'll give them one more brief overview after that.
Yeah, so right before we go back to regular programming, I want to pull up the tornado watch that has been issued for our entire coverage area. That is until at least 5 p.m. later on today. So this is going to be an all-day type of event, and we're going to deal with this till at least 5 o'clock. I'd say around 4 o'clock, most of the activity will be along the Mississippi River Valley. But just be weather aware for the remainder of this morning and for this afternoon. Like I said, I know most of you are at work, the kids are at school, but we'll be watching and monitoring this system as it makes its way across the Arkansas region. And should any new tornado warnings get issued, we will come back on a regular program. We can keep you informed and provide you with the life-saving information that you need to be prepared as these storms start to cross the Arkansas area.
Correct. Like Chase said, if there are any more tornado warnings, we will certainly cut into programming. I know that it's usually not the favorite of folks when we do that, especially during the midday hours should you be watching your midday programming, but essentially that really doesn't matter when it comes in terms and comparison to a tornado warning. Lives and property are at stake. Not only do we have an FCC obligation to protect lives and property when a tornado warning is issued, but also we have a lot of population centers that could see severe weather development through the latter half of the day. So to wrap things up, we want to say that we are going to see a heavy potential for firstly some flooding and flash flooding. So if you're trying to traverse the interstates and roadways right now and through the afternoon, certainly not only drive a little bit slower, but take into precaution that some of these blinding rainfall bands, as well as the winds, can bring visibility down to less than a mile when you see reds and yellows on your particular product. And we do have those 2 severe thunderstorms down to the south, but other than that, we are going to monitor the tornado watch, and we'll definitely cut into programming, and I'm sure we're live on Facebook Live. I believe if we're not, Chief Meteorologist Jared Floyd most likely has been live on Facebook and will continue to be so. But with that, continue to monitor the tornado watch, and we will cut back into programming or your Facebook Live should another warning be issued. I'm meteorologist Trey Tonneson with meteorologist Chase Ward. It's his first week on the job, but we're going to cut in regardless when tornado warnings are issued. So we appreciate your trust, and we'll be here monitoring throughout the day.